Welcome, GMB pros. Welcome, everyone that is catching us on Facebook Live. Richard, that's here on Zoom with us. Those that are catching the replay, I appreciate everyone's support. Just to remind you, William and I's goal with GMB Pros is twofold, right? One is to help you grow your agency, whether that be providing white label service, helping you with your SEO, guiding you in any way possible. Number two, our goal is to help you get better results for your clients, right? And we like to do that, like bringing guests on like Nathan, right? To kind of give us over the shoulders examples on how we can get that. I think, our guests have their subject matter, right? That it interjects in our business, and it almost doesn't really matter. And we'll get into this a little bit, I'm pretty sure, with Nate, where at in your journey you're at. If you're just starting, if you have 10K, 15, 38K, or your seven-figure agency, I think a lot of times we need to be reminded of these things, kind of how to avoid the pitfalls of it. And I like to kind of give like my perspective on where we're at. Today's guest is Nathan. Nathan, it's actually perfect timing, right? Like everything lines up perfectly. And we're going to be talking about business hiring systems, exiting a business, and bookkeeping. I think a lot of this stuff is you need to be prepared for it. I never understood like when somebody would say, "Man, you're ready for taxes. You have all your stuff ready." Like, yeah, what are you talking about? And so last year I made a decent amount of a change. I'm like, I should do things correctly with my filing and doing taxes. And holy moly, I understand that statement big time. So I appreciate Nathan being on here. Thank you, man. We were just talking a few minutes ago. He has a newborn, getting over, sleeping through the night. So love it. Good times, good times. Nathan, if you can share with our guests, those that are catching the replay, kind of where you've been, where you're at right now, and kind of what the future looks like.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20. I've been building businesses. I built a pretty large Amazon business out of my college dorm room. Most people know me for my next company, FreeUp, a freelance marketplace that I built in 2016 with my longtime business partner, Connor. We scaled that and got it to 8 figures, doing about 12 million a year. That company was acquired in 2019. We had a life-changing exit. And since then, we've just been having a lot of fun with business, treating it like a game. We've been launching different companies with operators behind them. We had this crazy idea to launch a bookkeeping business, not being bookkeepers. So we hired a controller for that. We have accounts balance here, and we do a great job doing monthly bookkeeping. We have an SEO agency. We just hired an operator for that. That launched in October. We've got some ideas for other businesses coming up. We also have Outsource School, which teaches people how to hire great virtual assistants. So a lot of stuff going on. We like to build businesses with operators. Connor and I use our personal brand, and we have a marketing team behind it to push people to our different companies, and just having a lot of fun growing businesses, being a dad, enjoying the Colorado lifestyle. It's tough to beat.
Awesome, man. And one of the things I love what you're saying is, again, guys, this is somebody that's been in the trenches, right? Obviously now it's been blessed, has, I think, a lot of more resources. If we can rewind it a little bit, Nate, as you running different businesses, can you remember, or, I don't know how far back that was, but like at the beginning, at the first company, setting it up, the grind, kind of like, you know, when all hope is lost, like what was that pivot point, or like to continue that, like, did you ever imagine that those days where you're saying, hey, I have this business, a beautiful exit, exit, right? Life-changing, I think, exit. Can you step back and like take us from that beginning, like the struggles, or did you ever think, if you can kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were both teachers growing up. So I grew up very middle class. I remember all my friends had more video games and toys and equipment than I did. And so I always wanted more. But I mean, did I ever imagine it? Not really. I really didn't want to get a real job after college. That was my motivation. I had a lot of jobs in high school and early college. Even going back to like middle school, I was always umpiring or babysitting or whatever it was. Like if I wanted something, I had to make the money myself. And I kind of got a glimpse with my initial jobs of what life was like in the real world, working for someone else, having a boss, driving to work every day, and I didn't want any part of it. So I kind of treated college like an experiment, a chance to take risks, try things, try to build a business. If it failed, I could always go out and get a job. I was confident I could do good at a job interview or whatever. But I stumbled upon Amazon, and it was super lucky. I mean, I worked really hard at this business. It was kind of a craziness of like schoolwork, running a company, partying, like repeat every single day. But I worked long hours. I worked weekends. I worked holidays. Like I didn't know anything about delegating or hiring or systems. Like all of these were hard lessons I learned along the way. And there were plenty of times I wanted to give up, from when I trained lots of people and then they quit on me, to Amazon suspended our account and we had to spend 2 weeks trying to get it back from them and lost all the revenue there and I was still paying people, to manufacturers, we were selling their product and they decided to cut us out and sell directly to Amazon. Like we had every good and bad experience you can imagine. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, looking back, I was 20, like I didn't really know what the real world was like. We were just doing a lot of trial and error and seeing what was working. And all those kind of hard lessons around hiring, around ignoring bookkeeping, around depending on one source for a marketing channel. Like these are all things that I bring to my businesses today based on all those failures from the first business.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And we hear it all the time, right? Like it's in the failures. Like we don't think at the moment or we're losing it all. That, where you're at now is taking those experiences. Like they say, right? Like if I took everything from you except for your knowledge, right, you could build this back up. And I think that you've been pretty successful in the sense of you have multiple businesses because you bring that experience, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's all about hiring good people. Hiring good people makes you look really good. And I mean, right, like I couldn't run multiple businesses right now without these operators that are really the CEO of each company. So a lot goes into those hires, but it allows me to not be into the day to day of the actual operations.
100%. So, Nathan, if you can kind of like you have this SEO, what are some of those pillars or just in general in business that you how you look at it now? Like, guys, I made these mistakes, right? Like, these are the pillars that I don't care if it's SEO, if it's VA, if it's accounting, like you gotta have these pillars down. If you can talk about the processes, the results, and being world class. Because one of my things that I speak on is like you have to have like world class results, right? And then you got to get that process within that so you can stick your clients in there. And even niching down, and if it's maybe an industry or a service, can you kind of unpack that theory or debunk it if it may be?
So one thing we learned with the Amazon business, because Amazon drove all of our revenue, and when Amazon suspended us, we realized how bad of an idea that was, and that we needed to diversify. So when we started Free Up years later, we tried lots of different things. We did outbound lead generation. We did SEO and invest in SEO from day one, and that's been a backbone for everything we do. We went on podcasts or YouTube videos like this. We formed partnerships with people in the space and did cross promotions. We created an email list and emailed people every single week and shared our story and our journey. So that diversification of marketing was a big lesson of ours. But we also just learned how important SEO was. And whenever we start a company, that there's two things we start right away. One is SEO, a blog. We start publishing blog articles. We know it's a long-term play. We know we're not going to get clients for day one, but we know a year later, we're going to be happy that we started off early on. So blogs run all of our companies. They're the backbone of our marketing. Everything we do in marketing is off of the blog. And we offer that as a service now where we take over your blog, write blog articles, do the strategy, the research behind it, and drive traffic through the blog. So that's a piece of it. Number two is hiring a bookkeeper from day one. After ignoring books for my Amazon business for years, and every tax season was stressful. I had no idea how we were doing every single month. The day one of free up, hired a bookkeeper. Best decision I ever made. Even before we were profitable, before we proved the business model, it allowed us to make really good decisions every single month. But more importantly, when we went to sell the company, we had 4 years of immaculate books. That helped us pass due diligence and have this exit. So now when we start a company, I have a bookkeeping business. So we hire our own bookkeeping company, do the books for each company, and we start a blog. And that's kind of the foundation of everything else. Now, from there, every business is a little different. Some business might do well with podcasts. Some might do well with partnerships. Some might do well with paid ads. But SEO and bookkeeping are kind of that 1-2 that if we're starting a business, we're factoring that into the initial budget of any company that we're starting. And if I want to add a third one, is that operator we talked about, someone who's been there, done that, has the same values as us, wants what we want. Usually they have an entrepreneurial spirit. They like building, but they don't like certain parts of entrepreneurship. Like our bookkeeper, our controller, they don't like sales. They don't like marketing. They just want to run a bookkeeping business that we pump clients into. So that's kind of our trifecta that we look for when we start a company.
Man, that's great. And you triggered something right now, like bookkeeping, right? Bookkeeping is not only like for your taxes, but booking helps, you mentioned, make better decisions financially, right? Bookkeeping can set you up for that exit because the numbers are the numbers, right? You're not guessing. It is what it is. So that I find that pretty interesting. And it's one of the first things you set up is bookkeeping. What does that look like, Nate? What are the questions? Is it the bookkeeper and the tax guy the same thing? Is it the one up the street? How do you avoid getting ripped off? What makes a good one with the bad one?
Yeah, so I mean, bookkeeping, you want someone that knows your space really well. You want someone who has other clients. Like if you're an e-commerce seller, you want a bookkeeper that you're not their first e-commerce seller. They should have other e-commerce clients. They have a good monthly process. They're on time. They're accurate. They use QuickBooks Online or Xero, the main two softwares, and they have strong communication. Like all of our bookkeepers respond within a business day at all times. If you want to see what you're going to get every month, you can go to accountsbalance.com and get a /report and get a sample report. That's what all our clients get every single month. So that's kind of the beauty of a service versus a one-off bookkeeper. If that person gets hit by a bus or something, like you don't have a bookkeeper. With us, we have a team of bookkeepers, you have a dedicated bookkeeper, but there's also people up the ladder that if your CPA has questions, or like our books get reviewed every single month before they get to you. So there's always people above your bookkeeper that can help. And then like all our bookkeepers respond within a business day at all times. We have an e-commerce bookkeeping service. We have a non-e-commerce bookkeeping service, Accounts Balance, that works more with like agencies, coaches, real estate, just different like online businesses. And yeah, so we did a lot of market research before starting a bookkeeping business. And that's what people care about: the communication, the on time, knowing the niche, and just being able to deliver accurate reports every single month. And your CPA will do the rest. You'll pass it off to your CPA at the end of the year. To your point, when we started this episode, tax season shouldn't be stressful, because if you're just doing your books every single month, by the time January is over, your books from the previous year are done, and you just pass that over to your CPA and on to the next year.
Yeah, 100%. So that's awesome. Now, does like within your business, is the bookkeeper and the tax guy two different people? Could it be the same person? Should it be different?
I've always done it different, and I firmly believe you should have two different people. So if you think of accounting, you've got your bookkeeper, your CPA, and maybe a CFO that comes into play when you get a little bigger. CFO is there for strategy and advice. The CPA is there for tax strategy, file your taxes, and to help you with like entity setup. And then your bookkeeper is there for the monthly bookkeeping. And when you have like a CPA that does everything, usually it's more expensive. Usually they're only good at one thing, that they're just doing the bookkeeping to help with the tax work. They're not as good at putting things in ways you can understand. Like they're doing it for the taxes, not for decision making on a monthly basis. And they just have their own deadlines. Like during tax season, it's gonna be very hard for them to do your books on time. So you'll get a lot of delays there. I like the checks and balances of it. If your bookkeeper is doing a bad job, your CPA will tell you. If your CPA is doing a bad job, your bookkeeper will tell you, and they can kind of check each other's work. And that's really helpful if bookkeeping isn't your strong suit, and that's what a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves. So my advice is to keep it separate and have two different people. And that another way, if like you need to replace your bookkeeper, you're just replacing one part of it. You don't have to replace your entire accounting team.
Made sense. That makes total sense. Understood. Awesome. So if we can kind of back up, you kind of mentioned, hey, these pillars of a business, bookkeeping we spoke about. You mentioned SEO. SEO as far as the website, SEO. Um, you mentioned it's a long game. No matter what business, bring up a website, invest, have a healthy. One of the things that I've noticed here lately is the business owners with a healthy marketing mindset. Ah, Nate, and correct me if I'm wrong, like night and day, right? They don't necessarily understand SEO, but they have that healthy mindset about marketing and they know they need it. Um, and obviously, one of the things I preach is never guess. They know exactly where their dollars go. It's not, there should be a progression, right? Of their rankings, of their backlinks, of keywords that Google's giving them, showing them some love, depending on the service, the Google My Business. What are some of those SEO factors that you said, hey, yeah, Alfred, you're on track. This is, keep going that lane. And this is another like bonus pro tip that I found throughout the different businesses.
Yeah, so I mean, SEO is definitely more on my business partner Connor. He's the expert there, and if you're not following Connor Gillivan on LinkedIn, I recommend it. But I mean, it all comes down to having a really good strategy, doing competitor research, knowing who your ideal customer is. So that's what really good entrepreneurs do, and what are the keywords that that ideal customer is looking for, and what is the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. And we like to build out our strategy from the bottom of the funnel up. What are the people that are high intent? If someone's looking for a bookkeeping service, if they need a bookkeeping service right now, they're trying to hire a bookkeeping service, what is that person searching for? And we put out a lot of great content around that. And all the content speaks to the ideal customer. It's obviously well written, but it actually delivers value and educates them and teaches them. And that's how you drive traffic to your website. Now, Google's always updating its policies. Staying up to date on Google policies is key, but you want to hire an SEO agency that is great with the keyword research, the strategy, the competitor research, and can put out high quality content. And then anything you do like UI, UX, backlinks, stuff like that, that all supports the content that you're putting out on your blog. So to your point, like the best entrepreneurs, they don't need to know like how to do bookkeeping, how to do SEO. Like you don't need to know all these little things. You need to know enough to be dangerous, but you need to understand the power of them and you need to hire really good people and put them in position to succeed to help your business. And that's what really good entrepreneurs do well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you mentioned intent, right? Intent, and with everything, I think it starts off with keywords, right? Do your keyword research, know who your competitor is, know what keywords they're going after, and then the intent of your ideal client. So those four things, right? Competition, keywords, your ideal client, know what it is, and then the intent of those things, and then everything else. I think that ties in pretty good to like you mentioned, like content, your social media, your case, you're putting out blogs, and depending on the business, it's your different social platforms. Do you have any like pro tips, Nate, that you've seen like when it comes to branching out to the content, whether it be blogs, whether it be YouTube, whether it be social media, or is it a little bit of all of them? And then
Yeah.
like,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah, like, so like it's kind of hard to social media. What's the ROI on that, right? Like I'm putting this stuff out there, but my phone is not ringing. Is it working? Is it not? Should I do it? Is it a loss leader? So if you can kind of unbox that a little bit.
Yeah, so we have this organic marketing blueprint. If you go to outsourceschool.com/organic marketing, and it's really how we do it for each business. Like social media is kind of the wild card because that's the one that's always changing, always evolving. There's always different tips and tricks, but the other stuff is pretty consistent. Like we create partner directories, for example, for all of our companies. And if we're offering e-commerce bookkeeping, we're going to partner with e-commerce software companies, e-commerce service providers, stuff like that. And we're going to do cross promotion, promote them to our list and vice versa. And we'll do guest blog posts, we'll do webinars or podcasts together. So we have this partner network of the same ideal client offering different things, cross promoting each other. You can even do co-sponsorships at conferences, stuff like that. Well, SEO is a part of it. Podcasts are great. Going on podcasts in your niche, it's a great way to build authority, build relationships, good for backlinks, good for brand awareness, evergreen content, all of that. And if you check out that organic marketing blueprint, there's a few other things as well, but those are the kind of keys that we do for each business. And I kind of view social media as a big experiment. Like, we're about to hire a social media manager for our personal brands, and it's all about really great content at the end of the day, and then the tips and tricks that go along with it. Personally, as an entrepreneur, I like to spend less time on tips and tricks just because that's the kind of stuff that gets outdated and I can hire people for, and I spend more time on high level strategy. So for me, it's make sure we're putting out really great content and then hire people for those tips and tricks and the stuff that I don't really have time for.
Absolutely. So great content, great content. Speak to your ideal client, right? 100%. Yeah, 100%. Love it, love it. So for those that are maybe a little bit more advanced, Nathan, how do you set up like how do you set yourself up for an exit? Right? You hear all these conferences, these numbers, and all these things, but at the end of the day to day, how does me, 7-figure, 8-figure guy, what do I need really? What are the three things for to set yourself up for an exit?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the stuff we already talked about, like you need clean books, you need diverse marketing. People care about that. Reoccurring revenue is a big one. People want to see reoccurring revenue in any business. Low client turnover. They want to see a business where the owner isn't in operation, so that where the fulfillment doesn't depend on you. They can always come in with a new marketing team, new marketing strategy, all of that. They can replace you there, but you can't be the fulfillment. They want a strong team, strong leaders. And I just on top of that, they want a business that's growing. It's very hard to sell a business that's plateaued or going down. They want to see growth year after year, month over month. So and it's funny, like entrepreneurs, when things are going well, that's when they don't want to sell it, but that's when you should. And when things have plateaued, that's when they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I should sell it. So you got to get in the mentality that if you're going to sell it, you got to do it when the business is rising. You never know when you're going to plateau. So something to keep in mind. And just some like other tips off of that. Like, let's say you sell a business for $10 million. You're probably not getting $10 million up front. Usually it's half up front or some amount up front and an earnout. And how you structure that earnout is so important because that you never know what that new business owner is going to do. They could run into the ground. So if your earnout is dependent on the business owner growing the business or hitting some crazy metrics, you're not going to see any of that money. So work on like a fair earnout agreement where you make money over time based on revenue or something like that. And make sure you sell it to really good people. We spent a lot of time vetting the buyers. We didn't want to end up in a lawsuit down the line or arguing or wait anything that would waste our time. We did not want to stay on as employees. I know that's a popular thing. Every person I know that sold the company that stayed on as an employee has always regretted it and hated it. So for us, it's like we want to be out in 60 to 90 days, and that's where we were. But that's just some of what we learned. And if you go to outsourceschool.com/exit, you can actually grab our exit playbook of how we build all our companies to be sellable and what we learned through our due diligence process going through this exit.
Awesome, awesome. So Nate, you talk about like operators for all these businesses, right? Finding, I mean, the best of the best, right? People that have done it, people that are great at what they do in that particular niche. How do you do that when you're bootstrapping? And how do you do that? Or is there a particular number? No, guys, get it to 1 million, get it to, 2, 5. Then you start thinking about those things. Or can you share some light? Because sometimes like you're in the middle of it and you look at these stages or these speakers, like, shit, that's not where I'm at. How do we bridge that gap? Where is there like milestones, right? That, hey, accomplish this before you focus on that.
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. There's kind of three ways that I approach it. I mean, I bootstrapped a lot of companies with $5,000 or less. That was kind of my thing. Not really anymore, but it was. And like, you're the operator from day one. You have the operators later. You promote team leaders from within. That's a way to kind of go about it. Number two is you sell first. Selling kind of cures all sales. Take something to market, sell a course before you make it. Like for us, we tried to give away 2 free months of bookkeeping and get clients up front, and that allowed us to hire an operator. And step three is kind of that small investment. You don't need $500,000, but like we've put 40, 50 grand into a company and hired an operator from day one and gotten sales initially and kind of gone from there. So of course, if you're starting a business with a few grand, very hard to hire a full-time US operator, but there's creative ways around it where you can sell stuff up front and then put an operator in place, or be the operator for a little bit and get the operator in shortly after.
Awesome. So be creative, right? Be creative. You're going to be the one that wears all the hats at the beginning for sure.
And you can hire a business partner, or you have a business partner that is the operator. Like that's another option as well.
100%, 100%. Love it, love it. Nate, I appreciate you, man. It's this one's gonna be nice and sweet. You gave us some great tips to kind of look at. Now, one question that I do ask of all our guests, right? And then I'll share some of your links here that you shared with us. But before we go, what is a fun fact about Nathan that nobody knows?
That nobody knows. Oh man. Oh, I was thinking about this. I actually had a good one the other day. I was trying to think of something that my business partner didn't even know about me, but now I forgot about it. So I know how to juggle. One day I taught myself how to juggle, and that's something that I know how to do. So that's a fun one.
Awesome, awesome. I appreciate you. So before I let you go, let me make sure I share. Let's see here. Make sure we follow Nate. This is his Facebook. Shoot him a message. I know you mentioned outsourceschool.com.
Yep.
And there's some resources there. And then there's account balance. Is this it here?
Accounts balance. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So make sure we follow him, look into some of these solutions to help us. Somebody that knows, has done it, that's involved in these let's see here. And somebody that's involved in the trenches, guys. So as GMB pros, let's show some support, seek him out. What is another good way to stay in touch with you, Nathan, if they want to get more
Nathan
info?
Hirsch on LinkedIn or nathanhirsch.com or any social media channel.
Awesome, awesome. Nathan, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Much rest to you with the baby. I know you have many great nights coming. Parenthood it's hard and rewarding all at once, right? So with that said, guys, much love, much success, and I'll see you on the next one.